Alright guys, anyway, I gave up on the meter. I'm just going to buy another one. But anyway, this is a Cobra 146. This is one of their older and one of their entry-level sideband mobiles. I'm not going to say it's a piece of shit, but it's really one of their lower end versions. The 148 was their top shelf. This is kind of like you would call, I guess, well water. Now it works. I fixed this radio many years ago when I had the store. Customer never picked it up. So if you don't pick it up after a while, it's mine. I can only give you so much time before it becomes property of. I usually, where's my, oh there they are. When I had the store, I'd give you 30 days, and then I would give you an additional 30 days. And then at that point, I would try to hold it for you for another 30. But if you didn't pick it up within the first 60 days, and somebody else wants to buy it, you know, even though it's your repair, well, if you don't come in and get it, it says right on the receipt, 30 days. So I give you a call telling you, listen, your 30 days is up, so, you know, you got to start thinking about getting down here. You know, and I'll give you another 30. And then you figure, well, if they're on the road, you know, if they're a truck driver, they may not be getting the call because they didn't have cell phones back then. So you kind of like hang on to it for longer than you should. Let's put it that way. But it's money that I have tied up. I mean, and parts as well as labor. So, you know, after that, if somebody comes in and says, "You got a used radio?" Well, you know what? Just so happens I do. You know, and that's how it would work. And then I would take that radio and sell it, and get my repair money back with a small profit, depending on the radio. I mean, seeing that I had to hold on to it for almost 3 months, I deserve to make a little money on it. So, and that's how it would work. Well, this particular one, it's a lower level unit. It's not the best one in the world. I think, you know what, I'm just going to hang on to this and use it as a loaner. You know, if a truck driver comes in and he needs the radio and his is not going to get repaired in time, and, you know, he hasn't got a whole lot of money on him, so he can't just go out and buy another one. Well, you know what, here, you know, here's a radio for you to use. And I used to have a few of them laying around that I used to lend out if I was working on your radio and the parts weren't readily available. You know, it was going to take a week or two to get the parts in. And if you're on the road, you know, you need a radio. So I used to just, you know, have you sign for it and take it with you. You know, and then when yours is done, you know, come on in. There's one more nut here someplace. Oh, there it is. Well, this is one of those radios. Come on, where the hell are you? Now that looks like a head to me, but maybe not. I may be wrong. No, it isn't. Okay. Aha. Oh, I see. Why would you do that? That's because it's your Cobra, and this is one of your entry radios. That's why you did it. So we're just going to do it this way and handle it. There we go. But I ended up with this one. And I was hanging on to it and using it as a spare, just in case. But you know what? It's getting to a point now where it's tired. That's what there is to it. So it's just taking up room that I'm not going to use. I mean, that I can use, and I'm not going to be using this because I got the other radio if I need it for sideband. There's just nothing here that I can see me using this for. Garbage. Okay, so that switch is shot, but I can probably repair it. No, that is not going to get repaired. That's unrepairable. But I got tons of switches, but I like that bracket. I can use that mount. And I can use these little screws. Small screws sometimes are one of those things you just can't find anywhere, so you kind of hang on to them. Come on, there you go. Garbage. And I have more of these switches that are good, so I can use this little bracket for the other switches. Garbage, that's good. Now here, with these dials, see these are mounted right to the board. These are surface mounted switches. They're not a dial or a pot with the leads coming off it. And again, that's one of the cheaper ways of doing it. So, you know, it's just one of those things to where these are probably not going to be worth me even hanging on to. Because, yeah, I'm not going to use a surface mount when I can use the other. Well, this is an on-off. That can always be used. Because I do have the two tags there. So let me take this one off. This is something I can always use. There. And a grain of wheat, nah, really can't use it, but I'll leave it on the switch for now and drop it on the floor. The LEDs, no. Plug, no. There's a light emitting diode, nah. Got enough of that crap laying around. Plus, you don't know if it's any good or not. No. I'm not going to worry about the display. Like I say, these switches are not worth keeping. See, when you look at an entry level or one of their lower end units, cheaper units, hold on a minute. Get this off. And you look at those switches versus a better radio. I should have some in here. Like this switch. Now this is a dual pot, but I don't think I have a single pot in here. Oh, maybe I do. Let me see. Yeah, I do. Well, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But see, you have wires, so it's not surface mounted. So I can drill a small hole, put the shaft through, put the nut on it to hold it in place, you know, in the hole. The same with this one. And then I can just solder my wires to it and I'm all set. But with this one, everything is surface mounted to the circuit board. So in order for me to use this, I would have to have a plate, a circuit board type, something that's not conductive, so that I can put it through and then add wires to it, because I'm not going to have a circuit board designed for that particular switch. So, you know, and that's the difference between the better radios and the cheaper radios. If this one goes bad and that switch goes bad, and I can't fix it by just cleaning it with spray, it would cost you more for me to fix this than it would for me to put one of those other ones in. Because I would have to pull the whole board out in order to get to this thing. Where on the other ones, you just pull the switch out. Because the switch would be mounted to the plate, the face plate. You kind of know where I'm going there? So that's how that works. So, alright, so this is going to be garbage. There's nothing on this thing that I can see that's going to be worth salvaging. Now, what's in here? I'm not going to keep the channel selector. There's no reason for me to keep that. Well, let me see something here first before I speak with forked tongue. Let's find a knob for it. There we go. I don't know if you heard that or not, but no, okay. I was going to think I could use it for, I was thinking I might be able to use it for something that I have a project going for, but I can't. So that's no good. So I can't use that. Alright, so what's in here that I can use? Well, nothing really. I can use the SO239 connector. So I'll take that off. Let me get an adjustable wrench so I can get that. Let me throw that away. These connectors here, they're worth hanging on to because it's one of those things to where if you wanted to build a switcher, a switch box for a radio or something like that, these can actually end up costing you a few bucks. So, and the other thing is, if you want to get it done, you got to wait. You got to order it. And depending on where it's coming from, it can take a day or it could take a month, 2 months. So if you happen to have one there, you can get done what you got to get done. You follow? So sometimes just for that reason alone, it's worth having them laying around. So I make it a habit of hanging on to them. Anybody that deals with radios and stuff is always worth hanging on to some of this stuff, so you don't have to buy it later, regardless of what the cost is. Just by having it there and being able to finish the project then and not waiting and putting it aside, you know, because that could be a pain in the butt too. Okay, so that's that. So let's put this back together so we don't lose its pieces. Pieces to pieces. Okay. I don't get down to board level repairs anymore, so I'm not going to worry about taking out the audio chip or the output transistor or the regulators. This is the audio chip down here. That controls the output audio when you talk and the receive audio, your volume. That controls the audio. This is a regulator, controls some of the power. Over here are your power transistors, so that's what controls your output. That will blow. If you have a high SWR, you're going to end up blowing these up. This is your main, what they call phase lock loop chip, which controls your channels, you know, and so on. And these are just a bunch of trimmers to put all this into play. Keep that board. That would be worth keeping. See, some of your radios, oh, the power plug, that's worth keeping. Let me get that. Some radios, the better the radio. See, what happens is FCC regulates the output power on your radio, on your CB. Well, the company that manufactures these, the manufacturers, the overseas companies, they're not going to sit there and fine tune each radio to its peak, legal peak for this particular country. So what they do is they put a lot of shit in there to keep it from going over the legal limit, and it's part of the circuit. So when you take it to a person to have it so-called tuned and peaked, or tuned, or whatever they want to call it, tweaked, what they're doing is they're going to go in there and eliminate some of those parts, and then they're going to retune the radio for its maximum performance, which will probably take it a little beyond the legal limit, but at least you're getting the radio to do what it's capable of doing to a point. And the other thing is the cheaper radios, you know, and you think about it sometimes, the resistors that you're seeing here, they're done in stripes and color. Well, they have what they call a precision resistor. Resistors have a value, and they can be anywhere from 10% off to 0%. So they have their 10% resistors, their 5%, and then their precisions, which are right on the money, or matched pairs they even have, where they're all been tested and they're doing. Now, you're going to pay more money for those. But what a lot of companies do is they start using all the cheaper ones, and then they put these little variables in here and things so that they can adjust it to make them all fit, because one may be 10% minus, and another may be 10% off, but on the plus side. So now you've got 20%, all right? And it's the right resistor, you know, in a way. So if you didn't buy a matched pair, you know, at that point, so now what happens? Now you have to start using the adjustables. So they have what they call the adjustable resistors, and then that can take it and make up the difference. Now, I'm using a lot of layman terms here for those who may not understand it. For those who understand it, it may sound like a stupid way of explaining it, but that's the way it works. So a lot of these parts can actually be eliminated if they were to build a quality radio. For instance, you heard me talk a few times about an ARF 2001. It's a bass CB radio, sideband. That radio is top shelf. You know, I mean, it was before its time. Even today, if you were to find one, the people that have them, they want like $2,500 for them, used. You know, and these things are like 20, 30 years old. And they want that kind of money for them because they used all quality parts in them, you know, and you can tell the difference. But you pay for that, and that's what it is. And people don't want to pay anymore. You know, they're not used to, you know, the payola, you know, everything nowadays, unfortunately, it's not our fault, but things are just getting way out of hand. Well, a lot of it is our fault, not yours or mine personally, but in general, you know, companies are getting greedier, so they start going outsourcing, and then they want to make more money, so they can't go up too high on it, so they have to cut the cost on it somehow. So now they start selling junk, you know, and they play the odds, you know. Then they outsource it, so naturally that's going to save a few bucks, you know. In a way, it's to help keep our costs down, but at the same token, it's basically wanting to have them make the same profit or more, you know. And again, if you're in business, you're allowed to make a profit, you know. But you know, when does you know, your morals kick in? You know, profit, yes. Greed is another story. However, that's how it's working. And then us, being the American people that we are, you know, we don't want to work for $10 an hour. Well, we can't nowadays because of the system, the way it is, you know. But, you know, even if we were able to, we don't want to. So it drives up the prices. And what's it do? It chases the people, the manufacturers, to start going overseas. And that's what happens. So we kind of push it ourselves, you know. few years back, oh, I couldn't even tell you how many years ago. We were in this house. Port security wanted me to go to work for him. And it was an armed account. And I went down, I talked to him. And we're talking dollars and cents. And, you know, I know roughly what they were paying, their average output, you know, their outlay per man hour for unarmed, and an idea on what they were getting for their armed. Security companies don't make too much money on one man. They make it on the wall. They may only make, I'm going to just, it's not right, I'm just going to use it as an example, $1 man hour. So if they have one man working 8 hours, they made $8. All right? But if they have 100 men working, you know, 8 hours, well, hello, you follow me? Now we're talking $800, you know, and so on and so forth. So the bigger the company, the more man hours they have, and the more man hours they have, the more money they make. You know, and I'm just using $1, all right? Now they have expenses that have to be paid out of that. But anyway, getting back to where I was, they wanted me to come to work for them, and I'm sitting there with the president of the company and their supervisor. And he's thinking numbers, and I see him writing numbers down, and he's thinking numbers. And I says to him, listen, now it's not that I don't need the money, we can always use money, okay? But this wasn't going to be my only job. It's not a job. It's not going to be my lifelong job. It was just something that actually I wanted to get a little experience in, you know, and basically add it to the resume, and I'm getting paid for it at the same time. So I take the paper from him and I write what I wanted, and I slid it back. And the supervisor's there, and he's looking and watching the president and me slide paper back and forth. And when I slid it back with what I wanted, the supervisor's eyes lit up. And not the supervisor, the president, his eyes light up, and the supervisor's looking at him like, what the hell, you know, what am I asking? How much am I asking for? Well, back then, they were offering me $18 an hour as a part-time working for him with port security. Call me stupid, but again, I didn't care. I wrote back on it $10, and I slid it back. The president was dumbfounded. You know, here he is thinking, you know, he's wondering if he's going to get me for 18, you know, and I probably could have got more out of him, and I slide back $10. So his jaw drops, you know, like, wait a minute, you know, is he for, do we really want him working for us? Is he a wacko or what, you know? But that's just the way it was, you know. I just wanted to keep busy. I wanted to, you know, learn a little bit about it, and I really didn't care, you know. I mean, I was able, I'm not trying to sound like, you know, I'm loaded, which I'm not, you know, and that we can't use money, but it was only going to be a temporary thing. I think, you know what, if I can learn something from it, and, you know, and he can do what he's got to do, and, you know, so I went to work for him for $10 an hour. Yeah. It wasn't a big deal. I enjoyed it, you know, so, you know, he's still making lots of money on me, you know, because he didn't pass it on, I'm sure, and nor did he give anybody else a raise over it, I'm sure, but it was just one of those things, you know. It was just, I felt like being a good guy that day, you know. So I stayed there for about 6 months, and then, you know, my term was over, and I was done. You know, they wanted me to stay, and then they offered me, you know, a decent amount of money to stay, you know, and I said, no, you know, that's not why I'm here, you know. I'm all set. So, well, if you ever want, you know, no, it's okay. So that's how that worked out. I don't know how I got to that part of the story, but meanwhile. Okay, there's nothing else in this radio that I can use, so this is going to the trash.